Have you ever thought about how absolutely horrible it would be to play in Squid Game? I mean, sure, it sounds like fun when you're watching it from the safety of your couch, but imagine being there in person. Spoiler alert, you'd be dead before your tracksuit even gets wrinkled. There's a chance to win life-changing money, but there's also a 99.8% chance you'll be obliterated. That's a higher percentage than your average alcohol spray, and that only kills germs, not players. From harsh living conditions that would even make cockroaches pack their bags, to the games being designed to make sure you die in the worst way possible. These are just a few reasons why it sucks to be a Squid Game player. The Squid Game dorm might look like a fun playground, but in reality, it would smell worse than a sewer that even rats would avoid. Why, you ask? Because hygiene isn't exactly a priority when everyone's life expectancy is set at less than a week. The organization doesn't want to bother with sanitation, and honestly, why would they? The players are going to die anyway. Nowhere in the series do we see any hygiene kits handed out. No toothpaste, no deodorant, no sanitizer. There is nothing that stops 456 unwashed people from marinating on their own sweat and possibly other people's blood. Everyone is wearing the same tracksuit, and as you'd expect, nope, they don't get fresh ones every day. They have to live, fight, and possibly die in the same blood-stained, sweat-soaked fabric. And let's be honest, they're probably still rocking the same underwear they came in with. The dorm is less like a place to rest and more like a human compost bin. The bunk beds aren't much better either. The sheets have never been washed and the pillows have never been cleaned. The mattresses are probably stuffed with the crushed dreams of past contestants. And did I mention how the way their bathroom is structured is somehow worse than the dormitories itself? There are about 40 toilets in both genders' bathrooms, but what's even crazier is that with that many toilets, there are only 3 sinks present. So for the hundreds of players inside, washing their hands is a privilege at this point. And then there's the food. There's actually no problem with it, other than it's almost the same thing everyone gets. If one player has a peanut allergy, well, that's a plot twist they didn't see coming. Imagine surviving a deadly game only to be taken out by a surprise shrimp in your rice. And I know you may be wondering, but nope, there isn't any medical care inside Squid Game. A player could potentially survive an entire round of death games just to drop dead later at the dorms because they didn't get their daily insulin. The same can also be said with injuries or wounds that occurred during or after the games. The best they could do is pray their blood takes the hint and stays inside their body because nobody's coming with a bandage. But even if the player didn't get injured, doesn't have any food allergies, or any concern with the dorm room that smelled like the despair of 456 hopeless players, the moment a player is chosen for Squid Game, it already shows how miserable their life is out in the real world. If you're in Squid Game, congratulations. You've made it into the 1% of the brokest people alive. This is because players in Squid Game aren't just broke, they were in the radar of the Squid Game god. The deadly organization only scouts people whose financial situation is basically like a horror story. The 456 people inside Squid Game didn't just hit rock bottom. They drilled past it and kept falling deeper. It got to the point where even a homeless person has more financial stability. Everyone inside the player dormitories didn't just have a few bad months. They are the exact definition of desperate. Some had business that went bankrupt, some had gambling addiction, and some had medical debt. These players were crushed even before the games began. Something like a hydraulic press won't explain the pressure these people experienced out in the real world. And joining Squid Game really isn't a choice anymore for them. By then, they would have already sold an organ, committed a crime, or done something shameful they can't even say out loud. Like attempting a carjack when you don't know how to drive. These people are the exact audience that the Squid Game organization wanted. Ones who will participate in their childhood death game no matter the cost. But the worst part is that even after they get eliminated, their debt doesn't dissolve alongside their ribbon-tied coffin. The debt gets passed straight down to their family, kids, spouse, or parents. The players who leave their families to join Squid Game are basically going off to war, except instead of fighting for their country, they're fighting for financial freedom, which, let's be honest, is way harder to achieve these days. The bad thing is that this isn't just some underground fight club. The people running it are powerful. They have connections everywhere. The government, police, and even your local convenience store owner. So unless they win, their family never gets closure. No official report, no confirmation of death, just an unexplained disappearance while their body gets tossed into a furnace like yesterday's trash. Their loved ones are left in the dark, thinking they're still out there somewhere. Maybe they ran away, maybe they'll come back. Take Ali, for example. His wife and kid believed he had abandoned them. But in reality, he just trusted the wrong people and never came back as a result. As for Sang-woo, his mom up to this day, 3 years later, still believes he's away on some important business trip. And then there's Se-byok's little brother. He went to bed every night thinking she had left him, not knowing she never had the chance to return. Squid Game isn't just a death trap only for its players. It's a slow burn nightmare for the people waiting for them to come home. Except, only 1 out of 456 people ever will. Squid Game is basically a death sentence with a 99.8% fatality rate. If a person steps inside without the mindset to win it all, they're just signing up for a more creative way to disappear. And even if someone does plan to win, there are too many factors that can decide whether they die in the first round or barely scrape by to the next. Winning Squid Game isn't just about luck. A player needs these 5 key things to survive. If you don't know the rules, you're done before you even start. If you thought the Dalgona game was about eating the candy as fast as possible, congratulations, you just speedran your own elimination. Some games demand speed, agility, and endurance. If you can't outrun, outclimb, or outlast, then you're literally dead weight. Tug of War wasn't designed for people whose workout routine consists of walking to the fridge at night. Alliances matter. Trusting the right people and manipulating the wrong ones can make the difference between living another round or getting stabbed in your sleep. It's hard to think about everyone dying around you 24/7 all the while knowing you could be next. If your mind cracks under pressure, you're dead. The game isn't fair, and the rules can change at any moment. Just because you planned for one scenario doesn't mean the front man won't flip the script. If you can't adjust, you're out. But even with all that, luck still has the final say. This is mostly known with the glass bridge. It's basically just Russian roulette, but with glass and better lighting. You could be the first, the last, or in between. And that could depend whether player 1 goes first or the last. The truth is, Squid Game isn't designed for people to win. It's built to kill. Because the whole thing isn't about helping people. It's about entertaining the fat VIPs who got tired of sightseeing the Titanic wreckage. And the worst part of it all is that it tricks people into psychologically playing the games when in reality, they didn't have to. No one signs up for a death game in the first place. So the organization never explicitly states that players will die when signing the contract. They already trapped them inside the dorm and dressed up their part, so they have no choice but to sign anyway. You can even see that the guards tried to act harmless and only started carrying weapons right after the first game ended. To put it bluntly, the Squid Game was never a game in the first place. It's a slaughterhouse, dressed up as a second chance. So, yeah, being a Squid Game player is not as glamorous as it sounds, and definitely not as fun as it looks either. Let us know what you think is the absolute worst part of being a Squid Game player. And if you're wondering how Squid Game even got started in the first place, click the video on the screen. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, because who wouldn't want to hear more about all the things that can go horribly wrong in Squid Game? See you next time.